Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to NAMI's Ask the Expert. My name is Terry Brister. I'm the National Director for Research and Quality Assurance at NAMI, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to part one of a four-part series that we'll be hosting over the coming months focused on Help, Not Handcuffs. I want to let you all know that we have all callers muted this afternoon. Only the presenters will be able to use their microphones. We've also disabled the chat feature in this meeting because of our large attendance size, we found that it can be distracting for participants, but we do want you to submit any questions that you have for the presenters in the Q&A pod. We'll be capturing those and sharing them with Dr. Ken Duckworth, who will be moderating the question and answer period. Our call is being recorded, and like all other segments of the NAMI Ask the Expert series, it will be posted on NAMI's website. Following the recording, everyone who registered to attend, so even if you know someone who registered but wasn't able to join us, everyone who registered will receive a recording link where they can listen to the presentation, a certificate of participation, and a PDF copy of the slides. With that, I would like to introduce NAMI CEO, Dan Gillison. Dan?
Thank you, Terry, and very much appreciated. This is an exciting day for us, and good afternoon to each of you. On behalf of our board president, Dr. Shirley Holloway, our board, and the National Alliance on Mental Illness staff, I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us for this unique and very important series, as Terry has said, in terms of Help, Not Handcuffs. We're starting the series with a groundbreaking PBS documentary called The Definition of Insanity. Now I'd like to introduce NAMI's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Ken Duckworth. Ken?
Thank you, Dan. It's a great privilege to be looking forward to learning and moderating the panel that will follow this 55-minute film. I do want to say about this film that it is right in concert with NAMI's strategic plan to help people stay out of correctional settings. I do want to note that some people find portions of the film provocative. If you've loved people in a prison setting or have been in a prison setting, just be aware a few pieces of this may be a little provocative. I want to start by introducing two people who've created this endeavor through an act of love and altruism, and that is NAMI's beloved members, Judy Harris and Norm Ornstein. I'm going to have them tell you a little bit about themselves and why they're committed to this issue.
Thank you so much, Ken, and thank you, Dan, for your leadership. And thank you to all of the others who've helped put this together. I'm Norm Ornstein, and this is my wife, Judy Harris. I'm a political scientist. Judy is a lawyer. Our son, Matthew, was a brilliant, warm, compassionate, and funny young man who was a national champion high school debater, went to Princeton and excelled, went out to Hollywood, was having success when at the age of 24, he had a psychotic break, and went through 10 years of terrible pain and struggle with serious mental illness. And his family, of course, went through pain and struggle as well. And Matthew had the additional burden of anosognosia, of having a lack of insight into his own disease and illness, and was unwilling to accept any kind of treatment. At the age of 34, on January 3rd, 2015, he died accidentally, driven by his lack of insight and mental illness. And in the aftermath, shattered as we were, we struggled to find a way, using Joe Biden's term, to turn grief to purpose. We created the foundation, the Matthew Harris Ornstein Memorial Foundation. And some months after, we met Judge Steve Leifman and went down to Miami, immersed ourselves in his program, and were blown away by the ability of Steve and his team to save lives and save money at the same time, transforming the criminal justice system and the way it deals with people with serious mental illness. While our Matthew was not characterized by his encounters with the criminal justice system, we know so many are. And we wanted to find a way to take this groundbreaking and path-breaking program and spread it around the country, develop a different dialogue, and make best practices something that could be used anywhere. And we decided that this film, The Definition of Insanity, was the catalyst for being able to do that. And we are delighted and honored to be able to show it to you today, thanks to NAMI. Judy.
Thanks, Norm. I want to add a couple words of my own. First, I got permission to, I don't know if this is coming up, hold up a picture of our beloved son, Matthew. This was his picture. I don't know if you can see it when he graduated from Princeton. One of the proudest days in our lives. He was elected by his classmates to be a speaker at class day. He looks very serious in that picture. He was actually hilarious. Did a lot of stand-up comedy. Indeed, when he went out to California after graduation and created a movie with his high school debate partner, they called the movie Master Debaters. And if you don't get that, you can think about it later. But it was hard to explain to his grandmother. In any event, we did this movie, as Norm said, because we were so amazed at what we saw when we went down to view Steve Leifman's courtroom and the program that he had in practice there. I often say that the worst day in my life was not the day of our son's funeral, because I was drugged up then and really didn't know what was going on. But it was the day that I had to stand up and testify against him in court. We can save that discussion for another day. Suffice it to say, we were in Maryland. The Treatment Advocacy Center has rated Maryland as 50th out of the 50 states in the union for barriers to court-ordered treatment. Our psychiatrist who recommended that we do what we do didn't understand the laws, and neither did we. We only succeeded in losing our son's trust, and we were never able to get him treatment. Following that, I literally used to get on my knees and pray that our beloved, perfect son, Matthew, who had never done anything wrong in his life, would commit a felony, that he wouldn't hurt anybody, but that maybe he could be arrested and then we could have some leverage over him to get treatment. Little did we know at the time that at least he had been lucky enough to end up in Judge Leifman's courtroom in Miami-Dade County. That wouldn't have been any kind of a solution either, finding himself in jail. But I just want to say for the record that no mother, no father should ever have to get on their knees and pray that their beloved child commit a crime in order to get treatment for a disease. Let me repeat that. No mother should ever have to get on her knees and pray that her son commit a crime in order to get treatment for an illness. You're going to see there's a picture posted of our son. I went through thousands of pictures last night that I had never seen before that were posted by his friends and family on the website of our foundation. I had never had the heart to look at it before, but I picked out a picture because I wanted to use it to illustrate a point. The picture that you'll see is Matthew in a tuxedo. That was taken about 2 years after he got sick. His friends from Princeton gathered round and made sure that he could get to the wedding of a dear friend of his, a roommate from college who was getting married in Italy. They had a magnificent time, and the reason I think that picture is so important, look at the smile on his face, look how happy he was. That's the importance of early intervention. If we could have gotten him help at that stage, we believe that we would still have our son today. Another issue, there's so many. So I just want to finish by saying an enormous thank you to Dan, to Ken, Terry, Jordan, to all of you who have put this together and given us this chance to do exactly what we were hoping that this film would be able to do, and act as a template for similar change around the country. Dan, we remember well, pre-COVID, having you treat us to a fantastically good dinner at an Indian restaurant in Washington, where our dear friend Adrian was in from Texas. Shirley came in from Alaska. Judge Joyce Campbell, we got to meet you, and we talked about this film, and it was a dream to see if you might be able to to show it at some point. And we thank you from the very bottom of our hearts to Judge Steve Leifman, to your magnificent team, to all of our friends in Miami-Dade County. We can only say 2 words: forever family. Thank you.
And let me just add thanks to our wonderful filmmakers, Gabe London and Charlie Sadoff from Found Object Films, who really enabled us to put all of this together in the quite remarkable fashion that you'll see, and to Rob Reiner for doing the narration.
When I became a judge, I had no idea I was becoming the gatekeeper to the largest psychiatric facility in the state of Florida, the Miami-Dade County Jail. This was not just a local problem, but it is a national one as well.
LA County estimates 27% of its homeless population suffers from serious mental illness.
Neighbors say the man shot by police has struggled with mental illness.
They looked at these folks as criminals, and that the best way to handle it was to get them off the street and just lock them up.
Our jails have become the largest public psychiatric institutions in the country.
They don't have the mental health staff and resources to provide treatment.
We were spending $80 million a year to warehouse people in the conditions that you wouldn't let your dog stay in.
Water's not working. He's drinking sewer water. He's drinking toilet water out of the toilet.
It's foolhardy what we do now. It's dangerous what we do now, and it's cruel because we're not affording people the opportunity for recovery.
We know how to fix it. That's a question of political will, and it's a question of leadership.
This is not a criminal justice problem. This is a community problem that requires a community solution. We want people to be part of their own change. We want to be able to give them the tools that they need so that they get the insight, but they also learn that there is a better way to live, there is a better way to deal with their illness, and you need to stay away from committing offenses.
In January 2000, Miami-Dade County Court Judge Stephen Leifman made one of the biggest mistakes of his career. He promised the parents of a man who had once been a practicing Harvard-educated psychiatrist, but was now homeless and appearing in his court for a minor offense, that he would get him help.
The case was a window to how horrifying the existing system was. And the case involved somebody that had severe psychosis, but the court had absolutely no authority to get him into the system. And so my only option was to release him back to the street on a conditional release and tell him to go see a doctor. Not only was I unable to fulfill the promise I made to his parents, but I put him at risk, I put the community at risk, I probably put my job at risk, but I followed the law.
20 years later, Miami-Dade faces a crisis. Nearly 10% of its adult population suffers from serious mental illness. But Judge Leifman presides over a system of care for people with mental illness that he hopes could be a model for the rest of the country.
All rise. Thank you, gentlemen. Do you swear a firm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you very much. And we started very slowly, just with nonviolent misdemeanor cases. I know you don't look for trouble. These are really minor offenses. You don't hurt anybody, and I really appreciate that. You're a nice man.
Yes, sir. Always say, young.
I just don't like you having to be out on the street and getting sick. Are you hearing voices today?
No, little voices.
Little voices?
Little voices.
Okay. And we had to prove that this would actually work. And in a very short period of time, it did.
Judge, Mr. Alvarez is receptive to JDP services. The recommendation at this time is a residential treatment facility. He expresses the need for that service. He has been taken to central intake and has been placed on the wait list.
Great. Hang in there with us. It's a lot better outcome once I can get you going, okay?
I'm tired of the cycle.
I know. I'm glad you see that. We're going to work with you and get you everything you need. All right, good luck. So what we've been able to do is a program that we've set up to actually help individuals navigate these complex systems so that they can get the treatments that they need, get the assistance they need, so that they can actually recover.
The program Leifman pioneered is officially titled the 11th Judicial Circuit Criminal Mental Health Project. But to the team of people who chart its course on a daily basis, it's known as JDP, short for the Jail Diversion Project.
Okay, I wanted to talk about how many people we are enrolling in the project. There have been 80 people enrolled and 7 people are pending. So I'm going to assume that we're doing really pretty well towards our goal of 100. So I think we're on target.
Morning, Judge. Alejandro Aristizal at the Jail Diversion Program. On Mr. Dolan's case, the state approved his participation in diversion. We did screen and assess him. He meets criteria. We would like to request, Your Honor, transfer the case to our mental health court and have him sign an
Jail diversion helps people that are identified with serious mental illness when they're in jail to be released to the community with the treatments and services that are necessary to help them move towards recovery. That's what we do.
Jail diversion is not your regular route through the system. Thank you, Judge. What the state attorney's office will do is come up with a diversion offer. Trevor, how you doing, man? Good, man. I'm gonna be working with you for the next year. Okay, good. If you're gonna put in your half and work with us, this is gonna happen within 2 weeks, all right? It's good to meet you in person. All right, take care. If you participate in jail diversion and you are successful throughout these 12 months, we are going to dismiss your charges, and that's huge. We're on our way to see Trevor. He spent about 6 months in jail before he was approved for diversion. And this will be our first encounter with him outside of the courthouse. He's about the same age Justin was when we worked on getting Justin out of jail and into treatment.
I was in jail for a month and a half. It was unpleasant. It was not the Holiday Inn.
My job was to go out and talk to Justin and try to get him to agree to work with us. And Justin wasn't easy to work with.
I was very sick. I was very sick.
And
I told him, what did I tell him? Al-Qaeda was on Miami Beach. Do you remember that one?
Hey. What's up, man?
How you doing?
What's going on? We really like seeing people outside of the courthouse. Yeah. We don't want to just have a 2-minute conversation.
In the Miami community mental health model, there's no universal pathway to recovery. For clients like 22-year-old Trevor Dolan, a jail in-reach screening by JDP specialists determines not only a diagnosis, but the resources he'll need going forward. For Trevor, that means his first 60 days will be spent at Betterway.
Have you ever been in residential treatment before?
No, I have not.
So
This is my first time. This is my first time ever getting any type of treatment.
I'm glad to hear
Did
that.
high school on my own, did all the type of stuff.
That's what we're about, trying to show you that you're going to learn stuff here that you have to take out into the real world. You're seeing the doctor too, psychiatry.
Yeah, I've seen her once so far.
And the medications that she prescribed, how do you think they're working for you?
I haven't taken them. I haven't even gotten them yet.
We haven't gotten them yet.
No, she just prescribed them to me. So I vilified.
We need to get that prescription.
All right, good, let's do
I need
it.
to work on that. And you want to pursue work, right?
Yes, I want to start working like now.
Yeah, you're not going to be out working late. You know that. You know that, right? Yeah. You know, I'm in recovery myself.
Yeah?
I mean, I've been here 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Got wife, family,
That's crazy.
house. I mean, things get better. Is there anything you need?
What do you mean?
I don't know. I see you dressed nice shoes, watch. Do you need anything?
No, I'm good. I'm
You good?
I got everything I need.
It's great to see you again, man.
Yeah, you
Congrats.
too, Alejandro.
You got an awesome 30 days in already.
I do.
I can't wait till we got 12 months in. Mental health doesn't fit into the criminal justice system. It's not written in protocols. There are no standard operating procedures for what we do. So we often think of ourselves as the glue that holds it all together, the translators, the interpreters. Mornings are rush, rush, rush. So it takes a lot of coordination. Trevor's new. He is in residential treatment. He's on an ankle monitor. We actually saw him yesterday. We had some issues. He was not being given his psychotropic medication.
I'm sorry, he's residential?
Residential.
He's there all the time, and have not explained to him. There's no one supervising his medication.
Not until tonight. She's
I'm not
in
feeling
charge of
good about
medication.
that. The mental health diversion court. It's a very different role for judges. Not all judges, I think, take to it. You're really traveling outside the boundaries of where you normally travel as a judge in a regular courtroom. You were in there, you're in the trenches, you're much more involved and invested, I would say, in the specific cases and in the clients. So Trevor gets an all-pros, though, if the restitution is paid on all the cases? Yes, Judge. Okay, good. You definitely have to believe in rehabilitation. You have to believe in redemption. I think that that's really a cornerstone of being a judge in the diversion program, is to make sure that they know that we're there for them and that we believe in them.
All right, so Mr. Dolan, if all goes well here in this program, your cases are going to be dismissed.
Yes, ma'am.
So this court is unlike the court you started out. In that court, you're being prosecuted.
Correct.
Ultimately, it was about whether or not you're going to go to trial or take a plea. We're all basically on the same team here. We all want to see you succeed. All right, so the state, your attorney, the court, we all want to see your case get dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you.
I think if you're not someone that's really in this field, they think if they just give the person medication, a pill, or a shot, they're going to be fine, that their lives are going to turn around and they're going to be healthy and have happy lives. Well, if you're homeless, if you have a drug addiction, if you have a lot of trauma history, all the medication is going to do is reduce your symptoms. It's not going to help you thrive, survive, be hopeful, and happy. And so we've learned that we have to address all those other social issues on top of their psychiatric treatment to make this work.
But recovery is never going to be easy, especially given the complex system of care that currently exists.
You going down?
It's difficult for anyone to navigate, much less someone with a mental illness who's just been released from jail.
I'm a certified recovery peer specialist by the state of Florida, which means I have a little piece of paper I pay $75 for every year to do my job. I get people out of jail every week. I get them where they're going in the community, get them to their housing, Camilla's house, shelter, ALF, three-quarter-way house. I bring their medication, and then I get them linked to treatment, and I follow up with them in treatment. Hey, Yuri. What's up, brother? You remember me?
Yeah, from the program.
So this is what's gonna happen today. Are you hungry?
Yeah, I'm hungry.
All right, we're gonna get something to eat. But first of all, I got t-shirt, jeans, to get the blues off. You know, you go like this.
Yeah, they taught me that. My dad taught me that.
Yeah. It might be a little big, but that's all I got right now.
When I first started in 2003, we would set up treatments and services for people that appeared to be the right thing to do.
How about these to sleep in? Something to chill?
I like those.
And we would help people to get to wherever they were going to be living with treatments available, and they would run away in the first 5 minutes.
They used to get people out of jail and tell them, you have court next month, you have to be at this address on Monday to get your medicine, and they would send them in a taxi by themselves, and they would never see them again. It was that simple. You know, what would you do if you got out of jail and somebody gave you a free taxi ride? You'd say, I'm gonna go do what I wanna do, which is not this.
So we had to come back to the table and say, okay, what are we missing here?
How's the food?
It's good.
Yeah. You owe me $7.50.
And at the same time, on the federal level, peer specialists were being looked at as a good alternative to engaging people in the process, in their own process of recovery.
We got about 30 beds from jail diversion. We got guys on the 6th floor and sometimes on the 7th floor. I do a couple groups with the guys. We get coffee, we get food, we go to AA, NA meetings. I take them to the doctor's appointments. Just little things to help make it easier, you know, to know that they got an extra supporter in the community. Sign in. All right, guys, going over the basics today. What does education mean to you?
It's being educated on our sickness.
We can just say health.
Health, yeah.
Because, you know, this is the same category as heart disease or diabetes or something. Just because people say you have a mental illness doesn't make you weak or anything, you know?
Sometimes I feel like that, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're a lot stronger than a lot of people out there because you're dealing with stuff that a lot of normal people don't deal with. Yeah. So you got to think of it as strength-based. You know, so many people have put us down so many times over the years. But we actually...
I've been dealing like that a lot.
Yeah. But now we're going to give you the tools. Let's do a little skit right now.
I do what you... Oh, you know, let me do it with you. Come on, please. Come on, let me do it with you.
Kevin, you can't go.
It was a skit, bro.
Let me tell you one like you doing.
Oh, come on, Kevin. No, come on. Come on.
Okay, you going to be serious? Okay, we're going to do something else. We're going to do well, I'm going to do something else. All right, you my friend. I'm the bad influence, okay? Wait. I'm going to set the scene. You're going to stand up for yourself.
Okay.
We're going to be about 1 minute.
Okay.
And then we're going to sit down.
Okay.
Okay. So I got these dumb kids. We're gonna go hustle them. So I need you to come with me to come talk to them so we can get money off them. You gonna come? I'll give you half.
No, Justin. No.
Why not?
I'm not gonna do that.
Why not? I thought you were my friend.
I just got out of jail.
You just got out of jail? Me too, man.
I don't want to go back. And they might beat the heck out of us. Even though we grow, we young, look at we never know what they have on them, Justin.
That's what these sneakers are for, man. You can run.
I ain't that bad, Justin.
The Miami model based on comprehensive community care is unique in the United States, but it is not a new idea.
Hearings begin in the Senate this week on our bills to combat mental illness and mental retardation. Almost every American family at some stage will experience or has experienced a case of mental affliction, and we have to offer something more than crowded custodial care in our state institutions.
The hospitals were horrific, and there was a lot of torture and human experimentation going on, and we started to become more aware of these horrors, and people started to put a stop to it.
Our task is to prevent these conditions. Our next is to treat them more effectively and sympathetically in the patient's own community.
President Kennedy, his last public signing was to create this national community mental health system, but not $1 got appropriated because of the escalation of the Vietnam War and his assassination. It just kind of got forgotten.
The goal was to deinstitutionalize. So there were supposed to be community centers, health centers where families could go, where they could get their medication, they could do their treatment, and government and lawmakers just didn't give the money, the resources that was needed to do it.
And so we close all the hospitals, we significantly cut back on federal housing, they go to sentencing guidelines to get tough on crime, they go to the war on drugs. You had a tripling of the number of people getting arrested since the 80s, and these folks just get swept up into it. And so we never deinstitutionalized, we transferred responsibilities from the really crappy, horrible, dangerous state hospital to the really crappy, dangerous, horrible jail.
11 years ago, I was in the 9th floor in the Dade County Jail. I'm laying in a pile of feces, vomit, and urine. I'm sick, I'm hearing voices, I'm seeing things. People are lined up like sardines on the floor. Bah, 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 bah. And this guy comes with this white powder out of his socks. He's got real high socks, like Dr. J used to wear, you know, and he starts sprinkling this white powder. And on the same disgusting floor, people are doing lines of it off the floor. When I was arrested, I had medication with me. And I told them I need to go to the hospital. I take pills. And they were like, oh, we'll put you on the psych floor. I'm like, thank goodness. Some people that understand me. If I get up there, it's way worse, man. There was people screaming around the clock. And the abuse from the corrections officer. He beat a guy unconscious in the cell next to me. And I just heard this guy screaming at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, please God, no. Please God, stop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And this is his flesh just hitting the concrete until he just hit one last time and he went silent. I didn't sleep for 3 weeks. I was on the 9th floor. It just made my mental health worse. And, you know, my bond was only like $500. I had some money in my account, but I didn't know how to pay it. The people that stay in jail are the seriously mentally ill because they don't know how to navigate the system. You're either too poor, too ill, too sick to get out.
What happens is you then have systems that are developed to process people in cases for crimes, not a system developed to assess and move people into treatment. So guess what happens? You end up spending your entire adult life recycling through this criminal justice system. I tell people it was the definition of insanity, where we kept doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different outcome.
You got kids?
Yeah.
Yeah?
3.
You got 3 kids?
Yeah, 2 and 1 on the way now. You think
you're a busy man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go inside to see what's going on.
All right, sounds good.
When JDP was started, Charlie Gonzalez would not have been eligible. Only misdemeanor cases were allowed. But now, 3rd and sometimes 2nd-degree felonies can be considered. Charged with crimes that in criminal court could spell prison, today marks Charlie's halfway point in jail diversion.
Mr. Gonzalez, how are you?
Pretty good at yourself, Your Honor.
In a criminal justice system, there's really just 3 parties. There's the defense attorneys, often represented by the public defender's office. There's the state attorney's office in Florida. Outside of Florida, sometimes they're known as district attorneys. And then there's the judge. And theoretically, the system works best when both sides fight equally hard and justice is supposed to fall through the middle. And so doing a collaboration in criminal justice system is not a natural act. And so it had to be created.
A community has to agree together that they're going to solve whatever particular problem exists in their community. So we all come to the table and we can put, turfs to one side and say, we're going to build something really meaningful here.
He's been attending all his appointments at Camilla's outpatient. He just went on Monday and saw the doctor and adhering with all recommendations, really. And I think he has had some big news in the last couple of days. It looks like he's going to be expecting his third boy. Yeah.
So pretty much everyone is on board with we are not going to criminalize mental illness. And that is a big shift. That's a big cultural shift in the community where people are actually seeing the mentally ill as being part of this community, not being those people.
Today we're here with private counsel and the state to possibly motion for a release from the GPS ankle monitor.
Immediately after Alejandro took Charlie's case, he was evaluated and he started receiving treatment. He called me 2 weeks after he had been admitted, and we're having a conversation at night, and he's telling me how much he loves, his job and how his life is going great. And this is the first positive conversation we had with him. And like 10 minutes into it, I go, listen, man, are you taking any meds? And he goes, yeah, Nick, and it feels great.
Yeah, I know you've been doing consistently very well since the beginning, and you want me to take you off the monitor?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
It's possible.
All right. Date is an agreement?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, so this time I'm going to order him off the GPS. All right, so we're at the 6-month mark right now, and keep working. Save your money.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Because your kids are going to spend it all.
Yeah, I already spent it all on.
They're going to spend it even more.
Thank you.
All right.
He was looking at 5 years minimum. So we could have gone to trial, and the judge could have gone anywhere from 5 years to prison to life.
All right, let's hear about it.
He was not a real threat to society, but he could have very well become a threat to society. This is all they needed to do. They just needed to diagnose him, and they needed to give him the right medication in the right amounts. And this kid turned into a new leaf, and he has a total different life since he entered into the JDP program.
Oh, man, my ankle feels a little lighter.
What we do is challenging. We work with human tragedy all day. And when you have success, you got to take it and run with it and really enjoy it.
Oh wait, check this out. This is from Jersey. I've had this thing since I was probably 12 years old. We're not gonna say how it got here. I special ordered it. This is it, man. I got a couple of appreciations from the court. Got an award one year. Then in the Washington Post later that year, they did a whole story on me and then how things need to change and we need to change the system. Like, you shouldn't have to go to jail to get treatment. It doesn't really make sense. This is like the chill part. You get home, you say a prayer, you meditate here, give thanks. And it helps keep you focused on what you're doing, because you have to first take care of yourself to be able to give back. And that's why this work is important, because, you get to give back and help other people.
Recovery rates for people with mental illnesses are better than heart disease and diabetes. The earlier you catch it, like any illness, the better services you get someone, the better recovery rates you're going to get. They're just people, and they want to do everything that everybody else wants to do. They want to be happy, they want to be hopeful, they want to have dreams, and they can't get there without all these supports in place. And so Part of it was identifying competent systems of care in the community, because some of it didn't even exist for people to get the services they needed to recover.
The Dade Family Counseling Center opened its doors in 2003, shortly after JDP was launched. It serves as a hub for JDP clients whose needs range from administration of psychotropic drugs to guidance on how to organize your day.
So you get up in the morning, take your medicine, or you shower, whatever you do, you eat your breakfast, and then you come to Dade Family. So you start getting that because what that does, that makes your day do what?
Better.
And makes your day better. I was an instructor also in the military. And a military instructor is a person that can teach anything. When you develop that, you also have to develop a way of helping people. And that's why I like teaching classes, because I'm looking for that one person. That's all I'm looking for, that one person that gets it. And when that one person gets it, it's gonna spread around.
He's ready to take over.
Come on, Stephon, get yourself.
The ball is in your court.
I'm gonna move my stuff out your way.
Okay.
Even as he nears completion of JDP, Stephon Berry comes to Dade Family regularly for group and individual therapy, as well as medication. It's a regimen he hopes can help him maintain work and find stability long after court supervision ends.
I'm going to talk job related, because when I'm at work, I have to know the product knowledge at work. I have to know that, but I have mental illness that's going on within me. And I know for a fact that when it's time for me to go to work, I have to make these sales, I have to make sure my area is clean, I recover everything. All that stuff is based on organizational skills. Now, I'm really happy that I shared that to y'all.
Okay. Let me tell you guys.
Stephon actually was one of the ones that was very interested in the help. He's had a lot of goods and bads. He's gotten work, he's been fired, then he's been laid off. We're gonna keep helping him with that structure and organization that he needs in order to avoid decompensation, because that's what we are most concerned about, Stephon, his symptoms.
I try my best every day. That's all I can do.
Trevor, he successfully completed 60 days at a better way. He's now living independently with a maintenance manager. He's engaging in work. He's trying to see if he's going to do deliveries with a wine company. Not sure if that's the best, but it is a job. It is employment, and it is legit.
Also, what about those programs at Miami-Dade Community College for him? He fits into that category.
He does. He's not expressing educational goals yet. I think that he wants to get solid in the community, but we should bring that up.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity.
As you all have heard me say, hope is the cornerstone of recovery, and it really would be helpful for a young guy like him to not only get through his court plea, but to think about what's next for him, what's my long-range plan. And that's what we can help him with.
My new job, I started yesterday, did 8 hours.
Put it behind schedule, Rich.
I guess I did a good job because they asked me to come back here today. I just want to show the JDP people that they chose a great person for this. You kind of have like that angel like looking over your shoulder. So if you do have a thought of doing bad or doing something that's not really with the curriculum, you have these people to think about, you know, how would that make me look? How would that make them look? You know, I never really had that before. It was all about me. And I just want to impress everybody.
I always had a normal life. After I had this whole schizophrenia thing, it really drowned my mind. Like, everything was crazy. Like, I didn't know what was going on at the time. It was real psychological warfare. As I'm moving forward right now, my program is my only way to conclusions and everything that my thinking process needs from the program. I think my thought process is always messed up. But when the program started coming through and the teachers started helping, that's how my mind getting better. Like, I know for a fact my mind's getting better, like everything.
The criminal justice system really should be more preserved, if you like, for those that are really dangerous. People who are a danger to others. If they're coming into the system, and we know eventually the criminal justice system is not the appropriate place for them, what you want to do is intervene. You want to fix the problem so that they're constructive, they're contributing members of our community.
I've came far, trust me.
I was just real reckless. Could say I was very immature, really. These walls right here, yeah, these are the walls we build right here. Every time you see one of these walls, remember me.
Charlie is a good worker. His employers really like him, and he really loves his job. I see him making money. I see him as a good leader. So we can only hope that the instruments and the tools to cope maturely that he received through JDP will carry him through.
The tools and instruments of any recovery begin with whatever resources a community has to offer. But the challenge lies in connecting those resources and figuring out what's missing. For Miami, that process started in 2000 at a meeting with researchers from the Policy Research Associates in upstate New York.
We were trying to think through a mechanism that we could effectively go into a community and work with them and do strategic planning and help them along. So we had come up with this model, which we call sequential intercept. Steve Leifman came over and said, will you guys come down here and do one of the mappings for us?
Basically, these are the different intercepts of the criminal justice system. So right here you have initial detention and arraignment. Here you have jails. So this is the jails in the prison. This is the reentry process to get back into the community. And then this is back in the community. So this is probation and parole. And what we do is we map the different communities and we figure out where their gaps in resources are.
When Judge Leifman and his team mapped out the intersections between people with mental illness and the criminal justice system in Miami, it revealed huge gaps, not only for people who had been arrested, but also for those who hadn't yet entered the system.
And so we realized that we needed a pre-arrest diversion program to try to limit the flow into the system. And that meant we needed to train more police officers so that they would make less arrests of people with serious mental illnesses.
Hey guys, how are you?
How you doing, sir?
How's everything going? What do you suffer from? So you've been to crisis before, right? And you suffer from schizophrenia? Yeah. Okay, we'll do the best we can to help you guys out.
What is your name? I want to pray for you. Can I pray
I'm
for
Officer
you?
Coker.
Thank you, Father, for this brave man, Officer Coker, who did shoot his gun in the line of duty and survived and killed 2 people, right?
No, but thank you, though.
No. Well, you're gonna kill 2 people before you get over, and you won't get over it. But you have to save your life, and you're gonna survive.
Thank you so much.
The prophet.
Thank you.
Officer Cook.
Have a good night. Hello. How are you? When I first got on the street and someone approached me aggressively or fast or their speech pattern was off, it definitely, made me nervous and scared. It goes from being a calm situation to, a situation where now he's combative, I'm combative, and then next thing you know, someone might get hurt. So those are things that the training has taught me as an officer.
Crisis Intervention Team Policing is this wonderful 40-hour training program developed in Memphis, Tennessee that teaches the police how to identify someone who's in crisis, how to de-escalate a situation, and where to take the individual as opposed to arresting them.
CIT is first and foremost officer safety. So what do you think emotions can do to you when you're out there on the street talking to someone? It can get you hurt.
It's really no fault of law enforcement that they didn't have the tools, the resources, or the knowledge to divert to treatment. Someone's loitering and they're not responding to the officer's directions. You are non-compliant, you are uncooperative, and I'm arresting you. Let's go, buddy. You're going to jail.
Can I have a volunteer come up? Thank you, thank you.
Morning, how are you? I'm Officer Dean.
I'm so happy that you're here.
Me too.
Will you join me in singing the national anthem?
Where?
We're right here.
Right now?
Okay, no, please, take a step back. Just take a step back,
problem,
okay?
Not a problem.
Okay, what made you take a step back?
Well, what CIT teaches the officer is to see more than just, the obvious potential crime.
If I just asked you to take a step back, it did not compromise your officer's safety, and you were able to just take a step back.
You gotta compromise sometimes with these people, man.
Exactly.
I mean, it can't always be you. You're gonna escalate it sometimes.
Exactly. Beautiful. Thank you.
The first day I was here, I learned more in those 8 hours than I did in 9 years with the Highway Patrol. Not taking anything away from the patrol was great. It's just that us as law enforcement officers were made to wear so many hats, and now in today's society, they also want us to wear a white lab coat, to try to diagnose these people. We can't do, we're not medical professionals, but here it teaches us a little bit more to recognize some of these things that people are going through.
The whole purpose of CIT is let's decriminalize the mentally ill. Let's properly assess. Let's get the person to the right place and divert them to treatment when it's appropriate.
How long ago was it that you stopped taking your medication? A year? Let me go ahead and speak to the mom, okay?
Help me.
Okay.
Something wrong with her. She needs help.
Okay, but remember, she also needs to be on the medication. She hasn't been taking it for over a year. She's 16 years old, Mom. You need to get that medication for her, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
When we started the project, there were approximately 118,000 arrests per year in Dade County overall. Now it's down to about 56,000. And so police injuries have almost stopped entirely. Injuries to people with mental illnesses have stopped. And police shootings went from almost 2 a month for people with serious mental illnesses in our community to maybe 5 or 6 in the last 8 to 10 years.
What are you feeling right now? Cold? Just relax, okay? You're good.
Judge Leifman and his team have spent nearly 2 decades implementing the jail diversion project. But on any given day in the U.S., there are still 400,000 people with serious mental illnesses behind bars, costing taxpayers more than $12 billion a year. Given this national crisis, Miami has become a model for other communities.
Well, one of the things you really have to let them know is...
This week we had a group of judges, the elected prosecutor, and providers from Cleveland come in. They're really working hard to try to replicate this.
What's the most difficult part about your job?
Putting out fires. Say I have like 10 good clients. And I would just love to hang out with them all day and eat empanadas and cannolis, right? Like, you're doing great, we're doing great. Let's pat each other on the back, you know? But it's more like, this guy's out of meds, this guy needs to be hospitalized, this guy took off, go find him. Even though you'd rather just see people do well all the time, we can't close a blind eye to, you know, what's really happening.
Hey.
What happened?
I got kept pregnant, man. I moved out here.
No, you should have told me. You should have told the guy. Let me see if I got some food.
We've made a lot of progress, but we still have not figured out yet how to deal with the most severely ill that keep recycling.
You want a piece of cake?
Yeah.
It's a good cake, man.
97 people. Over a 5-year period, spent 27,000 days in the Miami-Dade County Jail and conservatively cost taxpayers $13.7 million, and we got absolutely nothing for it. Nothing. It's taken us a long time to figure out what most of this population that is that sick need is to have all the essential elements of recovery in one place.
Ironically, the site Judge Leifman has in mind for a first-of-its-kind jail diversion center is a former state mental health facility.
We're going to remove the feel of it being a jail or an institution. For people with mental illnesses, we're going to take you to some horrible facility that's under-resourced and understaffed. It's going to look like crap. We're going to throw you on a bed and medicate you against your will. Who wants to go get treated? And so this facility, people are going to be happy to be here. They're going to understand it's really to help them get into recovery and not to punish them, torture them, but make them want to get better.
In the absence of a one-stop shop, a patchwork system of care is a reality the JDP team must face on a daily basis.
Don't forget to bring your prescription for Abilify.
Who did I talk to about that? My counselor doesn't have it, so I have to go get a whole new prescription.
I thought you had it.
No, my counselor has it.
I'm gonna have to keep a closer eye on you, man. I'm gonna have to assign a staff to really be on this because I'm just not getting really good information. So I'm gonna give you a shorter reset date. I'm gonna have you come back in 2 weeks and we're gonna work between you, Walter, or Justin and me. We're gonna try to make sure you're aware of all your appointments.
Okay.
All right? Okay, I'll see you in a little while.
Okay,
all right. Bye. Nobody is quarterbacking the team in the community. Nobody can tell you, the therapist, the case manager, the director, the court liaison, nobody in these agencies can tell you what's going on with the client. I'm a little frustrated, sorry about that, but. He's recording our drug test results. We're already getting started on that. Check this out. That's positive also?
All right.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Dr. Dugan.
Please be seated.
On page 64, Trevor Dolan. Trevor, hey, what's going on, babe? So Trevor also came back positive for alcohol. There are several matters right now that I need to manage better with Trevor. So we're going to be a little more involved and have him talk to us more frequently.
So you've taken on a lot, school, work, but when you take on a lot, there's also the potential that you're not able to satisfy and comply with everything. So we want to be really careful. And now you come in with a positive for alcohol, so that's concerning. So let me hear from you a little bit about what you're thinking of all this.
Well, I can understand the challenges it would be taking all this stuff in, but I did get offered by the guy I'm staying with to quit my job, so I can easily substitute it with the meetings or everything that I need to do. Me working at the winery, I don't really see it as a temptation. I don't drink on the job. I had a drink when I came home yesterday.
Now that's not good. It's jeopardizing your sobriety and it's jeopardizing your status here in this program. And that's important because Trevor, if you were to go back to division, what's he facing?
Judge, he has over 4 felony cases, so we made an exception to allow you to participate in this program. I have approximately 45-year state prison.
You understand that, Trevor? The next time you think about having that drink, or you think about not doing something that you're supposed to be doing, you have 45 years where you're facing. If you went back to the regular division, that's a long time in prison to jeopardize for alcohol, okay?
Correct.
All right, nobody wants that, okay?
Thank you,
Trevor.
all right, Trevor.
The Jail Diversion Project processes nearly 600 felony and misdemeanor cases a year. The recidivism rate for those that finish the program is less than 25%, but not everyone finishes.
See how you look picture perfect, and then all of a sudden within a minute everything could just collapse. Hey Joe, how are you? I just got out of court and Trevor tested positive for alcohol.
Clients can slip, participation declines, or symptoms return to complicate their path to recovery.
Go take care
I'm
of
really reevaluating my life right
seriously,
now.
seriously.
I need to really think about.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
On one hand, I think there's a lot of potential when you see somebody young like Trevor Dolan.
All right, Justin. All right.
But he needs to wrap his brain around the fact that he's going to have to contend with his issues for the rest of his life. Young kids can be very scary just because they're usually the toughest cases.
Charlie was supposed to successfully complete 12 months of court supervision today. We were all going to be clapping. We were all going to be happy about him completing this portion in his life where the court oversees his treatment. And we learned some really difficult news. Unfortunately, Charlie was arrested on a new felony. The team and I have been, thinking about this. You're always trying to second guess, what could we have done? What could he have done? What could his family have done? But you have to be resilient. You have to be tolerant and understand that he came into the criminal justice system and the mental health care system for a reason. He needs help. Our doors are open to Charlie. If the state attorney's office allows us to work with Charlie, we definitely want to take them up on that.
I've come so far, and it takes some time for me to actually sit down and reflect. Some people tell me to forget that past, let that stuff go, and I can't do that. I never will. I'll always remember what it took for me to get to where I'm at, and I'll always remember what people helped me. and I'll always remember every little detail. I will. Good morning, good morning. My last semester, I got straight A's. So this semester, I'm trying to do the same thing.
Okay, so last class, what did we talk about? Social comparison theory, okay? And what did it say?
It said by watching people, it can influence you.
Yes. What else?
Monkey see, monkey do.
Monkey see, monkey do, right?
But by the time February comes around, I'm a free man, and I'll be a free man.
We was talking about stereotyping, stigmas, and how people make you feel concerning your mental illness. Who ever been discriminated by? I've been discriminated by.
I have.
My stigma.
I have.
You know.
So because we have a mental disabled
Well, mental illness.
in us, in our mind, that makes us dumb.
That makes us look like.
That's what the stigma is. That's what they're trying to stigmatize you as. But what is in your recovery toolbox to help you deal with what you have?
You go by not discriminating against others. By not saying anything about it. By being humble about how another person should feel.
When I graduated, I felt better. I've been looking for my jobs. I'm looking for jobs lately. I always take my daily routines here to keep myself nourished. I come here, I get on the computer, I make sure I keep myself conquering who I am. I make sure I love what I do. I love what I make in life. My light bulb just stay up there. I keep my light bulb up.
With the Jail Diversion Project in its 19th year, Judge Leifman has decided now is the time to try and expand JDP across the state.
I'm not aware of any legislation like this in the United States. And so I'm hopeful if we get it done, this will not only be great for Florida, but it'll also be great for the country as a model. And the other priority is the building. There's still a few minor details that we're working out with the county and city. They're very, very close to getting those resolved. So it is possible within the next 5 weeks, we'll actually have a shovel in the ground. And we're really hopeful on that.
I'm very, very pleased and honored to have Judge Leifman with us today to talk a little bit about mental health in our state.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here to discuss these very important issues. My name is Steve Leifman. The statistics are stunning, and we now have the largest trained squad of CIT officers in the United States. We have over 6,500 officers trained. The recidivism rate of our misdemeanor program dropped from 72% to 20% because of a warm handoff and making sure people were getting treated.
Buenos dias, good morning. Come on in.
Hey, Stefan.
It's a nice Tuesday, and I'm happy I'm here today.
The program worked so well, the state attorney allowed us to expand it to our felony nonviolent cases. That program has seen a recidivism drop to about 25%. And has saved the county so far 31,000 jail bed days, 84 years of jail bed days.
This could be your next to final report. Can you imagine that?
No.
I can't either, man.
I still remember standing on that bench, man.
I still remember you in orange.
Nearly in tears.
Judge, we're really excited about Trevor's future. All his randomized drug tests are coming back negative. He actually just found work.
What kind of work?
I'm a busboy at a nice restaurant.
Good.
Yeah, the managers come up to me. They even gave me $25, and they said this is for being most helpful.
I'll be happy to be here and give you a round of applause on your big day, okay? Thanks, Trevor.
It has been so successful that Dade County actually closed one of its 3 main jails 6 years ago at an actual cost savings of $12 million a year. It's been closed for 6 years. That's $72 million in real savings.
And Your Honor, we would ask to reset this case in Division 55, the JDP program.
Good morning, Your Honor. Erica Gerson, Assistant Public Defender. I'll be representing Mr. Gonzalez in mental health diversion.
You know, Mr. Gonzalez and I go way back. We've been through a lot of cases here, a lot of violations, a lot of jail time. We only want you to succeed.
Yes, I understand that, Your Honor. You've always been a fair judge to me.
Yeah. Well, the state has also been very fair because in a lot of jurisdictions they would give you a severe amount of incarceration. Instead, I will grant the request to transfer the case over to Division 55.
Thank you, Your Honor. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So what did my county do? They were smart, they're committed, and they deserve all the credit, our mayor and our commissioner. They've reinvested a lot of that money to building the first of its kind one-stop shop for the most acutely ill that keep recycling through the community. We know treatment works. People with mental illnesses have better recovery rates than people with diabetes and heart disease. The key is helping them access appropriate and good services.
Trevor, what's your plan looking like this morning?
I have an appointment with my primary doctor at 3 o'clock.
Okay. Did they talk to your lawyer?
Oh, he told me to call him today, too.
Call him.
Right now?
Call him.
I'm confident that if this bill becomes law, we will begin to decriminalize mental illness. We can apply a population health model to these individuals with these illnesses rather than a criminal justice model.
On page 28 and 29, Charlie Gonzalez.
All right, so as much as the whole year obviously has been a bad year and a sad year, I want you to think of today as being a positive day.
Yes,
It's a
ma'am,
good
I
thing.
have.
Okay.
A very positive day.
Each and every one of us is imperfect. There's always that one person or that group of people or that place that really helps you understand and feels that welcome, that somebody cares about you.
Marla, you've been a big help ever since I've been got out of jail, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Stefan.
We will reduce homelessness, we will improve our public safety, we will save taxpayers money, and equally important, we will allow people with mental illnesses to have lives in recovery with hope and opportunity. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Judge, if we could call, please, on page 26 and 34, Trevor Dolan.
All right. Hi, Trevor.
Hello, Your Honor. How are you?
How are you?
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Good afternoon, everyone.
Judge, it's a pleasure to report that Trevor's been engaged in treatment and mental health and substance use disorders services for 12 months now. He's active in recovery. He's been testing negative for all illicit drugs for over 8 months now. He's engaged in all treatment services, but in addition to that, he's maintaining full-time employment. He's going to school. We're really happy with the progress he's made throughout the 12 months. I think his lawyer has seen amazing progress, his family. We're really happy to advocate today or to inform the court that he's done excellent in these last 12 months. And today should be his final report.
Excellent. Let me hear from the state.
Your Honor, Mr. Dolan has definitely earned the state's announcement today as to F-17-14775 and F-17-14368. The state announced a null cross.
Trevor, we just have a small certificate here, but we're so proud of you. Can I give you a hug?
Yeah, I would
okay.
like one.
Oh, that's awesome. You did a great job. You're a star.
Thank
you really are.
Thank you.
Man, this is awesome. Keep it up. I'll see you next week.
All right, next week?
Oh, yeah.
Here?
I'm going to be on, you know. I'll call you. I'll see you at the restaurant, wherever, Better Way, somewhere. We'll catch up with you.
Okay. I didn't think it'd be this strenuous, you know, with the appointment they put on me. And then my first mistake didn't help me either when I got tested positive for alcohol. But at the end of the day, people are trying to help you. Justin, Alejandro, they're really just trying to, like, be somebody that maybe you never had in your past or maybe you never had, period. Oh, this one is the prettiest.
Not everybody that graduates gets a cupcake. We just happen to have cupcakes. It's not like a thing we have planned. We planned it. Congrats, Joe.
It was good. Miami-Dade County Mental Health Court and the Circuit Court of the State of Florida, 11th Judicial Circuit, certificate of completion awarded to Trevor Dolan. It's me.
months, we have many visitors coming. Our first set of visitors are coming from New Jersey. We have visitors coming from Michigan. We have visitors coming from somewhere else I can't even remember. So we should be proud. And you know what? We know what our challenges are, but that's only working towards systems improvement, right? We just want to get better and better.
Hi, this is Dr. Ken Duckworth. We're going to have an opportunity to talk with the remarkable people shown in that film. And the panel should be coming up on your screen. And I'd like to introduce each of them by basically telling you their title and having them describe their work, their connection to this incredible program, and about the film. Then I'll be taking many questions that you've put in. A lot of them are great questions. Let's start with Judge Stephen Leifman, the Associate Administrative Judge of the 11th Judicial Circuit. Judge Leifman.
Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Duckworth. And I can't thank Dan and Terry and the NAMI family for not only showing the documentary, but for putting this wonderful program together. We're very appreciative. I also want to thank the Ornsteins. They wish, and we wish, this never had to be produced. We are doing our best that one day we will look back and realize how we have treated people with mental illnesses has been cruel and unnecessary, and there is a much better way to move forward. I'm the Associate Administrative Judge of the Miami-Dade County Court Criminal Division of the 11th Judicial Circuit of Florida. And I am surrounded today and at work by this amazing team that has enabled us to make some of the most significant structural changes ever in a criminal justice system to address this issue appropriately. I will tell you that when I became a judge, I had no idea I was becoming the gatekeeper to the largest psychiatric facility in Florida. And I think what you learn after several years on the bench is that in many ways, criminal justice system is nothing more than a repository for failed public policies. And there is no greater failed public policy than our treatment towards people with serious mental illnesses. And I think what is so frustrating about this issue is that it's fixable. It's just that we have lacked the political will and the leadership to make these necessary changes. And if anything decent comes from this terrible pandemic, it's my hope that with this pause that we have in all of our systems and all of our lives, we will take this opportunity to make the structural changes that are doable to reverse this horrible trend and to start treating mental illnesses like illnesses and not like crime.
Thank you, Judge Leifman. Now I'd like to introduce Cindy Schwartz, who you also saw in the film. She's the Jail Diversion Program Project Director. Cindy?
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be with you here today, and it's really important to say that our success is about the partnerships that we have throughout the community and also working with our amazing team. Everyone that works on this project is committed to the work that we're doing, and it's not just a paycheck. It's about really being committed to transforming the system and helping the individuals that we serve every day. The post-booking diversion program has many different components. It starts with the Jail InReach project, where we actually identify the people that have been arrested, and if they meet eligibility for the project, then we begin our work. We have a misdemeanor jail diversion program in county criminal court. We also have a specialized docket in domestic violence court. We're also the only jurisdiction in the nation that is doing assisted outpatient treatment. We identify people that haven't wanted to get involved in treatment, and we are the only one in the country that are doing assisted outpatient treatment from the criminal court, not the civil court. Our felony jail diversion program serves people in terms of being pre-adjudicated before they actually have been found guilty of a crime, but we also have post-adjudication. Those are people that have been found guilty and are currently on probation. We also have an entitlement unit where we help people to apply for Social Security benefits because we recognize that people need to be able to meet their basic needs before moving towards recovery and community integration. We work very closely with the Miami-Dade Forensic Alternative Center, and this is a project for people that have been found incompetent to proceed. They receive stabilization at Jackson Memorial Hospital, and then they are assisted with community reentry and supportive services, and they enter our felony jail diversion program. So we wrap the support around people that need it most. Our success also depends upon the peer specialists that work in our program and work towards engaging the people that we serve. I know that in the film we talked about how that's such an important piece. We need to engage people and we need to wrap our arms around them. Judge Leifman spoke to you about the Miami Center for Mental Health and Recovery, and that's next up on our hit parade to move towards that system transformation, and we can see it within our reach. So like I said, we couldn't do it without our community partners. And by that, I mean working with the judges, working with the public defender's office, the state attorney's office, law enforcement. NAMI Miami is a big partner of ours. Anybody that can partner with us, we engage and we welcome on board because this is a community problem and we need everyone to get behind it. So thank you so much for your interest by what we do.
Thank you, Cindy. Our next panelist is Justin Volpe, and you saw Justin in the film. He's a peer recovery specialist of the JDP. Justin?
Hey, Ken. How are you guys? My name is Justin Volpe. I've been a certified recovery peer specialist for the Miami-Dade County Jail Diversion Program for the past 13 years. And the dates are off on the film because it was filmed so long ago, but it was 14 years ago that I spent time incarcerated in the 9th floor of the Dade County Jail. And I'll tell you something. The worst day of my life and the best day of my life is the day I got picked up and arrested in Miami Beach, and it started my path to recovery with family support and supported community treatment providers. I got back on the right track, and I have a blessed life today. You know, it's a miracle, and that it's not a miracle, and it's a miracle that the sense that if we have a safety net to catch people at a younger age, to get into the schools, to start treatment and help for our youth, that they don't have to be incarcerated, that they can have meaningful lives. And I'm very grateful to be here today and for all our community partners and all the people that I've worked with over the years. Sometimes I think that maybe I'm still delusional. Maybe I'm in a coma somewhere, laying on the side of the road because I couldn't have dreamed up something this beautiful. So I want to thank you for having me, and I hope you guys enjoyed the movie.
Justin, that's a fantastic perspective. Thank you for that. We'll be coming back to peer specialists in the Q&A. Sergeant John Blackerby of the Miami Police Department, I want to thank you and welcome you to the panel as well.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all who are in attendance. On behalf of the City of Miami Police Department, I very genuinely want to thank you for your attention and your interest in what it is that we're doing here in the City of Miami. My name is Sergeant John Blackerby with the City of Miami Police Department. I'm currently in my 23rd year of service to the citizens of Miami. I came to the city, I came to the this program rather late in my career. But upon getting the training, the CIT training that was mentioned in the film, and I'm sure Ms. Habsi Kabi will be happy to tell us about in a moment, I noted what a profound difference since its inception in the city of Miami it had made to the quality of work and the quality of our officers and the way they dealt with the public and the way they dealt with those individuals who were experiencing mental crisis. I truly believe in the vision that Judge Leifman has set forth, and I do believe very much that the proof is self-evident. When we can close a jail and when my officers are less likely, less prone to injury, when our citizens are less prone to negative interactions with our officers, I think it's an amazing thing, and I'm very grateful to be part of it, and I'm grateful to be here to represent my agency, and I very much hope that this vision spreads throughout the country. I do believe it is a path to betterment between the community and our law enforcement.
Thank you, Sergeant. It's fantastic that you've been on the service for 23 years and still so devoted to this transformational approach. Our last panelist is Habsi Kaba. She's the CIT coordinator and potential Broadway actress. I believe you were doing a very nice role play there. And before she appears on Broadway, she'll be appearing in the Q&A panel. Habsi is the CIT coordinator for the Miami-Dade County program. Tell us a little bit about your work, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ken. And yes, my altered ego comes out during our scenarios. I get to have fun with our officers, and yes, it's a great thing, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. I oversee the Miami-Dade County's Crisis Intervention Team program for the last 17 years. It's really been a great ride and journey. And Cindy and I were just discussing the other day, after 20 years of this program, we're still working on new initiatives and expanding. And it's truly, it's an honor to work with all of my wonderful colleagues. A CIT program, for those that may not be familiar with CIT, it is a partnership comprised of law enforcement, the mental health community, families, advocates, and other stakeholders. CIT is also well known for its 40-hour specialist training designed for law enforcement, where here in Miami-Dade County, all of our 36 law enforcement agencies have partnered with CIT, and we have over 7,500 CIT officers on the streets of Miami. Also, very importantly, it's not just training that CIT can offer communities. The goal of our CIT program is to improve safety, to reduce incarceration, and work towards a vibrant, accessible, and effective crisis response system where providers are available to address urgent and emergent behavioral needs independently of law enforcement services, and only engage law enforcement assistance when indicated by safety or criminal concerns. And Sergeant Blackerby is such a great example of that mutual commitment and partnership. We work very closely together, along with Sergeant Blackerby. He is a CIT coordinator for his department, but we also have 80 other CIT law enforcement coordinators throughout Miami-Dade County. And so we meet regularly and work with our providers, our families, our advocates, anyone and everyone who has the same goal in meeting the needs of people with possible mental illnesses and in crisis.
I also just would like to say for anyone that is interested in implementing, learning more, or developing a CIT program in their community, please go to citinternational.org. And you will find on our website our new best practices guide on implementing CIT programs in your community. So please look us up, and I look forward to speaking with you. Thank you.
Hopsy, thank you, and thank you for the brilliant work you're doing in training. So we have about 1,000 people participating in this remarkable event. And so forgive me if I don't ask your question precisely. I've tried to organize them into categories. The first question is a variation asked different ways. How do I get this in my community? What are the biggest obstacles to getting it into my community? How are you spreading the word of this brilliant work? So it's all variations on a complete recognition of how fantastic the program is. And people want it in their community, and they're willing to work for it. So I'm going to toss these out, and I encourage any of you to answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. And I'll take the first shot at that. You know, it's Cindy mentioned it's really about a collaboration, but you really do need some leadership that has the ability to bring all the different stakeholders together to start that dialogue. For us, you know, and it was a judge, it was me, but it can be done by the elected state attorney, the sheriff. You need someone that is seen in the community kind of as a neutral arbiter. And I will tell you, the courts are now getting heavily involved in this issue. There is a task force that was put together by the Conference of Chief Justices to try to basically scale what we've done in Miami-Dade County throughout the country. And it's going incredibly well. The level of enthusiasm and support among all the state chief justices is phenomenal. But what I recommend people do is that they go visit the chief judge of their circuit, talk to them about these issues, and see if they would be willing, or if they could find a judge who's interested in this area, to bring the community together. And we started by a 2-day summit, and we literally, as the documentary shows, we mapped out how the criminal justice system intersects with the community mental health system. And what we found is that it didn't, that we were embarrassingly dysfunctional. And we put together a 2-part approach, a pre and post arrest diversion system. And what we did is we actually came up with a written collaborative agreement, and we had all the stakeholders come into my chambers and sign this document saying that they would dedicate and commit to making these structural changes. And we just started. We had no money. We didn't even want to ask for money because part of the issues were our own problems. And we just worked together on a regular basis to solve it. And we have. We still have a ways to go. We're close. And we'll talk more about those areas in a minute. But it's very doable. And every community can and should be doing this project.
I'd like to say just a couple of words
Cindy.
on this also. I think that it's about finding creative solutions. It's not only about funding a project and where do you find the funding. It's about collaborating with your partners and, finding these common goals, like Hopsy said earlier. But I think that's really important to note that it's not always about the money. It's about connecting the dots and finding those common interests among all of the stakeholders.
Anybody else want to take this one? It's a common question, so I encourage all of you to weigh in, because I'm going to say 1/3 of the questions were a variation on, I need this in my community. What can make it happen?
Yeah, it's not necessarily looking to start a new program. What we found are areas that could assist us in this project that were already being done. We didn't need to reinvent the wheel. We needed to coordinate the services and improve the access to it, and to make sure that there was someone responsible for making this happen. I remember one of the first positions we hired was, we nicknamed it a super case manager, because people have case managers in the community, but they really weren't doing what needed to be done, and they weren't coordinating care. And a lot of it is just making sure there's an advocate for this population, and making sure that they're getting the access to the care that they need. And, that's kind of the incredible role that Justin plays. We say this jokingly, but it's really quite serious. The peers are our secret sauce of our recipe. They make this work.
Yeah.
And for so many of the people that come into our system with these serious mental illnesses, they've had all of their relationships severed and they've given up on life. And it's not that they don't want to take medication or treatment. Most of them don't care if they breathe the day they come into our system. And Justin and his peer colleagues do this amazing job of reestablishing those relationships to help people to become incentivized to want to get better. And once we can cross that threshold, then we can do magic. And really, Justin and his team have been able to do that.
And I'd like to say something about that. Oh, Justin, why don't you go ahead?
I just wanted to add on what Judge Leifman made comment about, the case managers of the community and peer specialists and incentives. And I think a big part of doing this work, if you're doing it in the community, is to recognize that from all aspects, from the court, from treatment providers, from police, it is not easy work and not everyone is cut out for it. And you need to, give incentives for people to want to do the work and feel appreciated. And I think the more recognition and communication you have across the board will help, and rewarding people for doing the work. Let's not reward encounters. Let's reward outcomes of communities, of people's lives. And that's where the work really is.
Yeah. And we can't do it without including everyone. It must be inclusive, the approach. We don't know everything. And so, but together we can find all the answers. Education is key. When I do a community presentation, they assume they understand what law enforcement encounters. You don't unless you spend time with them and ride with them. And so how can we help meet the needs of law enforcement as well? We need to understand all sides of it and provide education, not only to law enforcement, but society needs education as well.
Sergeant, do you want to comment?
Yes, if you don't mind. No. One of the reasons why I'm so glad to be part of this is because it goes to what I have said about most of the problems that exist within the law enforcement community are ones that can be addressed through communication. And by simply sitting down with your individual partners in the community and trying to identify the problems, the gaps in service, the things what will aid and facilitate in a smoother transition of these individuals, that's the key. When you sit down and identify the problems, then we can start to address solutions. And I will tell you, as one of the coordinators for the city of Miami, the issues run both ways. Law enforcement has issues with the intake facilities. The intake facilities have issues with the officers. Through these avenues of communication, we can address them and smooth things out so that things run smoother for the individuals that need the service. And ultimately, that's the goal.
Great. Now, Cindy, go.
I just wanted to say, as the project director, I think that management is also very important in terms of how all the wheels turn together. And it's really important to empower all of the staff. We have team leaders, we have court case management specialists, we have peer specialists, we have intake staff, we collaborate with staff in the jail. Everyone needs to be empowered to be able to do their job effectively and to work at a round table where everyone is important. And I think that's very important to the work that we do.
Thank you. A couple questions came in about the connection to the mental health community. Social workers, psychiatrists, AOT. Can you describe that a little bit?
Cindy, do you want to take a shot?
Sure, I just didn't want to jump in because I feel like I'm talking too much. But yeah,
That's a good director of the program question. That's right in your wheelhouse, Cindy. Let's go.
So our relationship to community providers is very, very important because we can't do it without them. We do not provide treatment and services. We only link to treatment and services. But the providers in the community, and that's not just behavioral health, but it's housing, it's social security, it's law enforcement, and how we work along with everyone. We have connections everywhere. And if I don't have the connection, then Justin will have the connection or Hopsy will have the connection. And that's what I mean by empowering our staff to do the best job that they can. That's really important. Our connections with the community and the behavioral health community are very, very important. But it's not just the behavioral health community, it's everyone.
So Ken, I'll give you a classic example on how we work. And you know, I'm dealing with a situation just today that just highlights how complicated the problems are, how complex the population is, and why you need this kind of advocacy within a system to make it work. So we have this young man who is in our felony jail diversion program. He violated, picked up a new situation and is back in custody. When he was on his medication, he did great, but the only medication he has done well is clozapine. He has schizophrenia, everything else has failed. But he stopped taking his clozapine and he got put back in custody for his behavior. His family is besides themselves, everyone's hysterical. We're trying to figure out a way to help him. And so what we are working on now is, because of the relationships, we went, you know, one of our staff today met with the provider that handles services at the jail, because clozapine is not a normal treatment available at the jail.
Correct.
But we
closer to
convinced them,
psychiatric chemotherapy, Judge Leifman. That's how I frame it to my patients. It's the best antipsychotic, but it's the real deal.
Yep. And it works incredibly well for a lot of people, better than other medications. But the jail doesn't offer it as a treatment. But we have found a way to get that offered to him in the jail. And if he'll take his medication and get back on there, we'll be able to get him out very quickly. Otherwise, he may be stuck for a while. And what we're also looking at doing is to see if we can get his charges reduced, because we have assisted outpatient treatment in a misdemeanor division. And so if we can get his charges reduced, I can then get him on the assisted outpatient treatment, which he probably needs and qualifies for. But it takes this amazing conversation and advocacy from all the different stakeholders to make it work. And that's what we've been able to do. And I think that's the key to our success.
Absolutely brilliant. So just to review, clozapine is the only FDA-approved antipsychotic for treatment-resistant schizophrenia after 2 failed trials. It's the only antipsychotic that has been shown to reduce the outcome of suicide. It does have medical complexity, but it is the best antipsychotic and frequently difficult to administer. So that you've been able to navigate that is remarkable. I want to shift gears a little bit. Justin, you are amazing, right? That's a straight up comment. I can so relate to your experience about getting incarcerated, being the best and worst days of your life. The person describes their own journey. They're in a PhD program while living with a mental health condition. The question to you is, how do you care for your own mental health while being in service to others?
That's an excellent question, and I appreciate whoever shared their comments and sharing their own story. My health and my family come first, because there's an old analogy or metaphor that we've all heard, is that, you know, when we fly in airplanes, they bring down the emergency cards and they go over safety protocols, and they say, in the event of an emergency, if we lose oxygen, secure your mask first before helping the person next to you. And I think that we could talk about peer specialists, we could talk about mental illness, but really it relates to everybody, doesn't it? I mean, look what everybody's been through the last year. Whether you've been on the front line or you've been locked in your house, you have to take care of your house, your health. And me personally, it involves eating healthy, involving meals. You know, before I had this job, I was a cook at many restaurants, and I love to cook food. I love to spend time with my children, my wife. I walk my dog. I tell you, the problems I have now are privileged problems compared to looking over my shoulder before I shut my door at night on Miami Beach, and I'm thankful for that. Besides that, I stay compliant with medication. I exercise. I do meditation. I try to drink a lot of water. You know, you name it. Do a RAP plan. If this person knows what RAP is, WRAP, Wellness Recovery Action Plan, get yourself a book. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin. Let's talk a little bit about assisted outpatient treatment. Oh, I'm sorry, Hobbsy, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to mention, and Justin is so right about wellness. And so I'm speaking to our communities. If you are involved in any way or would like to get involved in CIT, I really encourage you to do so and to help our police officers who have very high rates of, as well amongst them, suicide, alcoholism, divorce, and of course it's their environmental stressors, PTSD. So we need to also protect our protectors, and within our CIT program training, we also have a officer wellness training for our officers. We also have a system here in Miami-Dade County where I receive approximately 150 calls a month from officers with their own concerns, mental health concerns, and their families. And so I will refer them outside of their agency, if they choose to the mental health system discreetly and just help them to navigate through the system so they can be well to be able to take care of us. Very important.
Before we get to AOT, I've had a couple of other questions about culture and Black and brown people, people with non-conforming gender. Wanted to ask how you approach cultural humility, teaching yourself about people of color, and how you've thought about diversity in your staffing and in listening as you design your program.
Let me first say that not only is there an overrepresentation of people of color in the criminal justice system, there is even a worse overrepresentation of people of color with mental illnesses in the criminal justice system. Also, not in Miami, but nationally, most shootings of people with mental illnesses that are fatal end up to be people of color as well. And so there is a huge problem that we are aware of, and we do our very best through training. Our circuit is very proactive in this arena. And we do, I would say, a relatively good job, both in our hiring of our staff, as well as staying current in these areas to make sure that we're appropriately sensitive and doing the right thing by people. Because, you know, and that includes, and it's not easy, there is not only a shortage of psychiatrists, but there's even a worse shortage of psychiatrists of color. And so we want to have culturally sensitive treatment, and it isn't always easy for us to find. But we do our best, and Cindy can talk a little bit more about some of those other related issues, but it is front and center for us, and we take it very seriously.
Cindy.
Our staff is representative of our community, and we currently have about 22 people on our staff of all different types of cultures. Most of our staff are bilingual. And it all fits together. We observe that people are different, but really fit the same mold. So we try to place them in culturally correct environments so that they feel most comfortable. And I think Justin can talk about this also in terms of his direct work with the individuals that we serve.
Yeah, thanks, Cindy. That's a really good question for a good time in 2021. And all I can tell you is that if you think you know everything, you don't know anything at all, you know, and that I have to learn and that we have to learn. We have to be flexible and always, you know, learning, like Hopsy said, education and educating ourselves and our own biases, because believe it or not, everybody has biases that we grew up with, and we have to learn how to work through them to better serve everybody. And saying you don't have one is like being in denial, you know. What I can say is I've served everybody in Miami, and this is a beautiful melting pot, and I've learned so much about culture and different individuals, and it's beautiful, you know. And the most beautiful thing is that everybody can recover, and everybody given a chance. And what goes beyond different cultures is that we need to realize the trauma and what it's like historically for a lot of different people and what they've been through throughout the years to better serve them. And, you know, until we acknowledge that as a whole and start having these open conversations and dialects, that then we're going to see more reception and more change, because it's hard to engage people that don't trust the system, and that maybe me or Cindy is just the face of that system, and they're not seeing the whole picture because they have their blinders on, you know. And that's what trauma will do to you. Personally experienced that myself. So we need to just continue education, continue dialogue, and continue learning to better serve and to get everybody on the same page.
You know, I was going to follow that up, and before Justin talked about it, I was going to mention trauma as well, because that's also the cultural shift that we needed to do. We had to become culturally sensitive to the population that's in front of us. 92% of all the women in jails and prisons in the United States with serious mental illnesses have serious histories of trauma, mostly sexual abuse. 75% of men who are in jail and prisons in the United States with serious mental illnesses also have very serious histories of trauma. And so it's really important for us to make sure that we're sensitive to those issues, that we're able to talk to people in a way that we do not re-traumatize them, and we get them out of jail as quickly, as feasible, and appropriately as we can, so they do not get re-traumatized within our criminal justice system, which makes it easier for us to help them recover when we do that. We do a lot of damage to people in our system, and it's not on purpose. Most of my colleagues around the country don't know that. But we're teaching, and we're getting, and we're getting there, and we have other programs like our Judges Psychiatric Leadership Initiative, which is a training program for judges around the country, and we're making a lot of progress. And these are the issues that we've learned, that if we really want to help this population recover, we have to understand what the root causes are and be able to relate to them in a way that they can get into recovery. And it works. It's miraculous. I mean, we do other things too that help us. I'll talk about it when we get to AOT, like using long-term injectables. But there is a lot that goes on in this ecosystem that we've created that is as complex as the complex needs of the people that we're serving.
So let's talk about lack of insight, lack of awareness, technical term, anosognosia. So a whole subset of people who live with psychotic illnesses can't appreciate that they're ill, just like people who have Alzheimer's disease cannot appreciate that their memory is lapsing, right? So it's a cruel dimension of some of these illness processes. Assisted outpatient treatment is a controversial area, not used across the board. My state of Massachusetts doesn't have it. Across the border in New Hampshire, they have it. So it's very state by state, and how families navigate it is one great challenge that we find at NAMI. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience of people who've received AOT and how that ties in to the court leverage and how you think about that? And is that how you think about it? There's 4 or 5 questions about AOT, sure. getting help for someone who can't see that they're ill.
So, you know, it's not only state by state, it's community by community. So we have AOT in the books in Florida, but there's only 3 or 4 communities out of 67 counties that are doing anything with it. So it really depends, and a lot of it has to do less, I think, philosophically in many cases than resources, because you need to build an entire system of care around those individuals, and it costs money. We were fortunate, we were able to get the legislature to give us money for the program, and it is miraculous. And it's not for everyone, and I will tell you, our philosophy in our program is to first try to get individuals to voluntarily take medication. And you know, the judges are trained, the staff is trained, and we work very, very hard to try to convince people to do this voluntarily. And when they won't, the criteria for AOT, assisted outpatient treatment in Florida, is very narrow and very strict. What we did about 4 years ago is we were able to get the legislature to extend the jurisdiction of AOT from the civil court, and Cindy mentioned this earlier, to the criminal court, but only the criminal court misdemeanor division. Why? Because that's where you get so many homeless individuals who are recycling in and out of the criminal justice system for their entire adult lives. And they're very sick, and they've been psychotic sometimes for decades, homeless for decades. Their brains are being permanently damaged in some cases, and AOT is a lifesaver for them. And so what we do is, if people have first failed the regular part of our program, which isn't that many, it's a small group, we will then send them to our provider, Jackson Memorial, for them to be assessed to see if they meet the criteria. If they meet the criteria, the hospital files a petition a civil petition in the criminal misdemeanor division. And they're appointed a public defender, a guardian if need be. We go through an entire civil process in the criminal court. And in every case thus far, it's been about a year, the person ends up voluntarily taking treatment because they know if they don't, they're going to be hospitalized. And so there's leverage. And I'd rather have that leverage than jail bar leverage, because jail bar leverage honestly doesn't work and sometimes makes people worse. And so I will tell you, it's every judge's favorite division, because in a matter of 2 to 3 weeks, we see people who have been destitute, homeless, co-occurring, come back to life for the first time in decades. The facility generally puts them on a long-lasting injectable, so there's not a drop when they, they're not missing a treatment, and they gain insight very quickly. It is amazing to see. I was in court, I'll never forget this, about 6 months ago. I was covering the AOT calendar, and we had about 4 or 5 individuals who were out of custody doing well. They were just there for a check-in. And we had a new individual who was not on his medication. He was very sick, and he was crying hysterical about his mom who had passed away. And in the middle of the hearing, one of the guys in our program who was in treatment got up and went over to the bench where he was sitting and gave him a hug in the middle of the hearing. And the guy that hugged him, I will tell you, 3 weeks earlier, wouldn't have even known he was crying because he had been so sick himself. And when you see that kind of insight and you just know it works, it's not for everybody, but for those that it is a game changer. And we are seeing remarkable success. I mentioned in the video of a study, and I'll just mention it quickly because I know we don't have that much more time, but we had a study conducted by the Florida Mental Health Institute. We sent them the names of 3,300 people who had come through our program in the jail that we knew had serious mental illnesses. And we asked them, because they have access to all the police records, hospitalizations, civil commitment hospitalizations, and Medicaid and Medicare records, and they can literally tell a community who the highest utilizers of criminal justice and mental health services are. So we send them these 3,300 names and social security numbers, and they crunched the numbers, and they narrowed it down to 97 people, primarily men, primarily diagnosed with a schizoaffective or schizophrenia disorder, primarily co-occurring and almost all homeless, who over a 5-year period, these 97 people were arrested 2,200 times, spent 27,000 days in the Dade County Jail,
13,000 days at a state-funded psychiatric facility. Cost taxpayers in today's dollars about $14.7 million, and we got nothing. That's the narrow group of people that AOT is for. And that's what we're using it for, and we are seeing amazing success.
Anybody else want to comment about AOT, lack of insight? Justin, I do want to ask you about your experience of that as a peer leader, right? And how do you work with that? Because some people don't necessarily thank you, at least initially, in my experience, but as Judge Leifman said, can be life-saving for a selected subpopulation. You care to comment on that?
Well, yeah, I would like to comment, and my comment might not be the most popular on this chat right now, but you know, it works. It works for when they're in the program, and I love to see the spirit come back in people's eyes and make eye contact and have good conversations. But unfortunately, Ken, what I've seen in 13 years in the community is that when the court is not involved, people tend to go back to old behaviors and not be so compliant with medication. And you know what we're talking about here is beyond AOT, beyond jail diversion, beyond CIT training. It's we need to build better community strengths, have stable supportive housing, have homes that people can afford in urban areas, and have some basic rights and freedoms that you and I have all taken for granted that people haven't had their whole lives. And when we start looking at things from a bigger picture, some of these other issues will subside, I think, you know, and you know, we really need to have more systems in port, including housing and people at you know, good run houses. You know, if I were to talk to you, I know it's not a question, but when it ties into everything, it's like, if you do not trust where you sleep at night or the neighborhood or your roommate or the people you live with, you're probably going to leave. So if the court's not keeping me here, if nothing is keeping me, you know, to stay here, I'm going to do what I've done my whole life. And that's where the court should not be involved forever. That's where the police should not be involved forever. There needs to be more of a system of social workers, of networks, of community providers to catch these people before they get arrested, before they commit a crime, before they get off their meds.
Questions come up about CIT. So I want to ask Sergeant Blackerby and Hobbsy, how do I get CIT in my community? Are police officers likely to be resistant to this training? What can I do as a NAMI member or as a community leader to make some change inside of my own police department?
I would definitely recommend going to CIT International to start with the guide. The guide, the implementation guide, takes communities from step one. How to identify your key partners, how to reach out to them, how to bring in your sheriff's department, all the way to changing and transforming your crisis response system in your community. When I began doing this type of training for law enforcement, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was 17 years ago. I was that messenger, you know, that stood in front of 30 officers and said, okay, you know, we're going to do it this way instead. And it was better that I went in the way I did, not knowing, because I don't know if I would have initially, you know, wanted to do it. I'm so glad that I've done it, because the truth of the matter is that it was very difficult at first. You know, we were pointing our finger at law enforcement and saying, well, you know what, you're not doing it right, so we're going to show you how to do it. And you know what I've learned? That they're teaching us just as much as we're teaching them. And so
back to humility.
Yes. So yes, there was resistance at first. But really, you know, rightfully so, resistance is fear. And so we didn't know each other. We didn't understand each other. We started talking. We started listening to one another. We came in with a different approach after I was educated by law enforcement and said, we can learn from each other. Let's come together. Let's co-facilitate this training. Let's implement police policies, but also implement a different approach to training when encountering people in crisis and with mental illness. And so now I have a waiting list. I have officers, departments that want to know, how do we do more? And that was just showing respect to everyone, and knowing that everyone has something to say here and something to teach. And I know that we want to hear from Sergeant Blackerby, because he had that experience, and also hearing from other officers.
I have a comment for Sergeant Blackerby.
Okay.
I had a profound personal experience with 2 police officers when I was a young adult. This was pre-CIT. It was the most humane interaction I ever had with anyone in any aspect of the system. Sergeant Blackerby, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for what you and other police officers do who are humane by nature or trained in CIT. That's a straight up comment. I wanted to share that because you began, I think if I did the math, 23 years ago, you were an officer pre-CIT. So this question, after that affirmation, did it change you? Were you always naturally empathic? What was it about CIT that interested you? Then I'm going to do one last comment from everyone. So this is the last question.
Wow. Okay. So it's interesting that the discussion of culture came up earlier. Yes, I did come on before the CIT program was instituted with the City Miami Police Department. I can say with a tremendous amount of confidence that the culture of my agency has changed from top to bottom since the introduction of CIT training. And I think that comes from seeing the success that CIT training shows in its real world application. When an officer can go to a scene and calm a situation down where other officers are known to potentially, by their lack of empathy and their lack of understanding and their lack of care, to potentially blow that situation up, make that situation worse, the culture has now become one where the officer that responds and calms things down and gets the individual into the back of a car without anyone getting injured now becomes, that's the attaboy. That's the goal. And I can say that unfortunately that wasn't always the case. But through the training, it becomes self-evident that it works. And when I work in a city that's safer, I work with officers who are less prone to injury. I work with officers who have a good reputation in the community, and they come to me. I've had people, and it's grateful to hear it again, but I have had members of the community come forward and say, I was mistreated by Agency X, and I came to you, and I came to your agency, and I couldn't believe how well I was treated. And I came to the CIT program late, as I said. And what I saw when I went to the training was a lot of the things that I had been doing, honestly, they were working. And it reinforced what I had been doing for those years. But it also reminded me that every person has had some contact through friends, through family, through relationships with an individual who may need help. And I've been touched by it, and every person listening to the person has been personally touched by an individual that had some kind of an issue that they needed assistance with. And I felt better knowing that I was a part of it. And the buy-in for officers all around the country is, this is going to affect you if it hasn't already. And that you can end your career safer and genuinely see your city, your community has improved while you were there. Because I want to leave my city better than it was when I came in. And I'm
Sergeant Blackerby, when I was in when I was involved in restraint reduction, we noticed that the units became safer, that were more engaged in a proactive de-escalation. So Sergeant Blackerby, I'm going to have that be your last comment. We only have a couple minutes. I'm going to ask each of you to say anything you'd like to say before we close. Habsi.
Education, education, education. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That's all I want to say.
Cindy.
Recovery, hope is the cornerstone of recovery. And everything that we do is based on that philosophy. As a manager, we're trying to find creative solutions to work towards systems transformation. That's what we do, and that's how we put it all together.
Justin.
Hey, Mom, look, I'm on TV. Hope everybody stays well. Get out the house. Try to do something safely. If you've gone crazy the last year yourself, gone through your own stuff, get out the house, do something in some nature. If the weather's too cold, come to Florida. Everybody else comes here anyway. So.
All right, Judge Leisman, you get the last word.
Thank you. Just like we have to believe that people can recover, we have to believe that systems can learn how to offer recovery. And I think with this amazing group that you heard from today and the rest of our staff, we're showing every day that that's possible. And while Justin's right that we need to do a lot more, you have to create that demand by making sure that people are kept out of the system, and when they do get in, get them out as quickly as we can. And over time, I am confident, and I'm optimistic actually, that in 10 years, we're going to look back and realize what a horrible system we had and what a much better system we now have in 10 years.
Thank you, Judge Leifman. A couple questions about resources. Let's go to the next slide on what resources are available. These are all things that directly relate to these topics, and encourage you to take a look at them. And I'm going to hand this back to the CEO of NAMI, our fearless leader, Dan Gillison.
Hello, everybody there? Okay. Dr. Ken Duckworth, thank you. And, as I've said many times, Chris Cuomo should look over his shoulder because you do an excellent job, buddy. So listen, in closing, let me start by just thanking Judy Harris and Norm Ornstein and the Matthew Harris Ornstein Foundation. This body of work is as a result of their work. And just wanted to say thank you. To the judge, Cindy, Justin, and Sarge, and Habsi, thank you. The investment of your time is absolutely making a difference. And the biggest theme is leadership. It is all about leadership. And Cindy, you mentioned hope. NAMI's values, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, we have 5 values: hope, inclusion, empowerment, compassion, and fairness. That's what's threaded through this conversation today. I also want to mention leadership again. And I want to thank you all for your leadership, your vision, your passion, your teamwork, your collaboration, and your communication, because it's all making a difference. And Sarge Blackerby, thank you very much for talking about the opportunity for to address a lack of empathy and a lack of understanding and a lack of care, and that peer training, critically important. And I would say that we want to make sure that you know about NAMI's HelpLine. That helpline is there for resources, 800-950-NAMI or 6264. Last but not least, we know it's, as the judge said, complicated and complex. And at the end of the day, beginning of the day, these systems cannot perform without people. So at the beginning and the end of the day, it is about people and people making a difference and people caring enough to stay engaged and to do this work. So let's close with this. This was a wonderful kickoff to a 4-part series, Help Not Handcuffs. The next session you see on your screen is the Thursday, the 25th of March, same time. Introduction to community models, legislation and introduction to community models, additional community models, and implementing a new system is the last session on the 20th of May. And we will be showing some of the models from different communities and sharing those as possible scalable models that you can look at for your community. So in closing, I just want to thank you. And Justin, as you mentioned, privilege problems. We're all in that space now where we're living that privilege problems, and we need to look at what we can do for others and continue to do that. And thank you for what all of you all do. And for everyone that is with us today, thanks for what you do. And remember, you are not alone. And if we can do anything for you, we'd love to know about that. The Ask the Expert series is informational webinar series, and you can see the information here on the screen in terms of what it is and what it is not. And one of the things we want to make sure you know is that it's not provided to provide medical advice or on any specific topic for any specific individual. Now, this series is made possible by donations and donors. So we want to make sure that you know that that's how we bring these to you. And if you would care to donate, or you know of an individual or organization that would like to donate to our mission, NAMI.org/donate. We really appreciate you and your work, and all of you working so hard to make a difference. And we'll end with the one thing I always say: people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And we just appreciate all of you for how much you care. And we wish you the very best, a good close to your Thursday, and a great Friday, and just a beautiful weekend. All the best to everyone, and thank you very much for what you do.